Are you the type of person who enjoys spending money or saving money? That's a very interesting question we've been asking for a while now. When we originally decided to ask it, we thought there might be some huge demographic differences out there in the population. We all know people who get a real thrill out of shopping, the thrill of trying to find sales, the pleasure that comes from buying things. And of course, we all know people who, like Ebenezer Scrooge, enjoy nothing more than saving money and piling it up and don't like spending it all. So we said, aha, here's an interesting way to create demarcations in the American population. Well, there are some divisions, but they really aren't divided much by any kind of demographics that we can find. Now, you see in front of you the latest numbers there. 60% of Americans say they are the type of person who enjoys saving more than spending. Isn't that interesting? 37% say they're the type who enjoys spending. Well, let's go on a demographic hunt. All of the different subgroups that typically produce differences in the variables we talk about here produce basically zilch in terms of finding differences on this variable. What about age? Very little difference there. You see there in front of you. Finally, when you get up to 65 pluses, there's a slight tilt towards wanting to save, but again, that's not much at all. Certainly income has something to do with this. Well, our highest income category, $75,000 a year and more, does in fact reflect a slightly higher percent who enjoy spending, but really that's not much at all compared to the kind of changes that we typically find. Ideology, politics, how you look at the world. Liberals, interestingly, slightly more likely to say they're the type who enjoys spending than conservatives. That might be an interesting finding for you, but again, these differences aren't major. So all in all, this is one of the very few variables that we look at. And trust me, over the years, we've looked at thousands and thousands of different variables. This is one of the few that simply doesn't seem to be distinguished by the usual segments of the population that we look at. There is one thing that does make a difference in the responses to this saving versus spending question, and that is the overall economy. Look at the trend. I told you we started this a while back, way back when we first asked the question at the beginning of the last decade. It was almost tied. 48% of Americans said they enjoyed saving, 45% spending, and then of course, as is the case for so much else that occurred after the 2008 recession, the percent who enjoyed spending dropped. The percent who enjoyed saving came up to what we find today, which is that 60-37 spread. So again, we used to have a situation where it was much more evenly divided. Now with the economy, as it were, it looks like a new normal set in. Americans continue to be almost twice as much, but not quite likely to say they're the type of person who defines himself as liking to save money rather than spend it. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.